Katz and Cosby, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We have begun strikes again in the Middle East against Iran. Word just came down just a few minutes ago that they've been underway for less than an hour. Also, a blockade now by the U.S. of the Strait of Hormuz. That went into effect about an hour and a half ago. So a lot of stuff happening over there. Let's go to the great General Jack Keane, retired four-star general, the chairman of the Institute of the Study of War, and also Fox News senior strategic analyst. Jack, what do you make of all these moves?
Well, this is the battle for the Straits of Hormuz that is underway, and it's been going on for a number of days now. As we know, on June the 17th, we signed an MOU. The president signed it, and so did the Iranian counterpart. And almost immediately, the Iranians blew it up because there was only one really agreement in that, and that was we would remove our blockade and let ships flow, and the Iranians would not interfere also with shipping. And the Iranians began to immediately interfere with shipping in the Straits of Hormuz. The only agreement that was in the Memorandum of Understanding was over the Straits of Hormuz to open it up. And the rest of it was a promise and an expectation over 60 days for negotiation. So here the Iranians violated right away the major agreement that they had signed, and they continued to do just that. So President Trump has ordered Admiral Cooper to open up the Straits of Hormuz, and then today he also ordered a blockade of anything Iranian coming out of the Straits of Hormuz. So it's going to take some time to open the Straits up so that it'll endure, not just for a few days, but over time. And to do that, John and Rita, what's happening is we're taking down, number one, all of the assets that are in the coastal areas around the Straits to support Iran's interference with the shipping. So that would be radars, sensors, command and control, fast boats, drones, anti-ship missiles, and the logistical infrastructure to support it. That's an initial phase. Also, another part of the operation, and you saw this, the Iranians last night attacked 6 Gulf countries because of our attacks on them in retaliation. Well, we're also taking down the means for them to retaliate by taking out their ballistic missiles and their launch systems and going again and rubbling the entrance to the tunnels where they store so many of those missiles. So that is the major features of this operation. And then the second one is the blockade itself, and that will require some initial resources. So major decisions, obviously, have been taking place here over the last few days.
General John Catsimatidis, I had to go back and forth with Bill O'Reilly and Michael Cohen was in the studio. That my belief is that President Trump is not going to ruin the infrastructure because we're going to have to pay for it sooner or later back again. Number one. Number two, he does not want to kill any civilians, Persians or anything like that. Number three, my opinion, he should go after the
IRGC.
The IRGC and kill every major, kill every colonel, kill every captain, and whatever generals we could find. I mean, what is your opinion?
Yeah. Well, that would be, if we go back to major combat operations, I do think we're on a path to do just that. And if we return to major combat operations, I'm pretty familiar with what that consists of. And that would consist of all the organizations that still sustain the IRGC to include their leaders. It would be a combined operation with the Israelis. Right now, what we're doing with the Straits of Hormuz and the naval blockade, this is all U.S., but if we go back to major combat operations, they would participate. It would involve much of their industrial base to sustain them in the war, but also to sustain them as a country. And we would take away those means which they produce revenue. So some of their infrastructure would likely be taken down. as always, we would avoid civilian targets. We do not target civilians, and that's the reality of it. But in war, civilians do get killed, despite the fact we have precision munitions now, as opposed to gravity bombs, which our predecessors had to use, and that caused enormous civilian casualties. When it comes to Karg Island, where their oil infrastructure is, it's a distribution point to load up tankers there. The president has two options. One is to take control of it and therefore preserve the infrastructure, or two, to destroy it. I do think, while he hasn't made a decision, I do think he favors taking control of it. And that may indeed require the placement of some troops on the ground to do that. But we would only do that after major combat operations, all of our assigned targets are completed, to reduce the effectiveness in any retaliation against troops on the ground inside of Iraq, even though it's on an island. Iran, the Iranians would still have some access to it. So that's kind of, I think, where we are. The president hasn't made that decision in terms of major combat operations. We have a speech coming up on Thursday to the American people. He hasn't told us what that's about. It may indeed be about Iran. It may indeed be just that. We'll have to wait and see.
Jack, we just have a few moments here, but one thing I thought was really interesting was they used a sea drone. It was the first time it's been used, I think, in U.S. warfare, and they took out a port. This was in the last few hours. That was pretty amazing. It's a one-way drone, one-way attack drone through the sea. Drone. Yeah, one-way suicide drone.
Drones.
Yeah, it's a good line to use. Exactly.
Not one-way suicide. Call them what they are.
Yeah, exactly. Suicide one-way drone and a sea drone, which was interesting. It just shows we're sending a message that we got a lot of toys. Maybe they don't realize.
Yeah, just think of that. I mean, the Ukrainians have been using surface and beneath the surface drones, and they use those without having a navy. They use those to defeat the Russian Navy in the Black Sea, and they have driven out the entire Russian Navy out of that Black Sea using that very means that we just saw ourselves. Really quite remarkable in terms of the technology, and certainly we have much more of that to use as needed.
Well,
General,
keep us posted.
Thank you. Keep us posted, because we're on this every day, and we have to know what the heck is going on, so we could, so our listeners could hear. And General, thank you for everything you do, and God bless you.
Thank you, General. Thank you.
Great talking to you, Rita and John. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You too.